Hey guys, welcome back to the layout. Today I've got another HO scale how-to video for you. It's going to be an expansion from the last video about setting up my programming track. The previous video that I've done really focused on the hardware, the wiring of how I did my programming track. This video I'm going to be focusing more on the software side of things. I'm going to show you what mode I put my PR3 in and why, what I had to download and what I had to install to have the PR3 talk to my computer, and then all the options that I had to set up on my JMRI. So let's go ahead and peek under the layout and get started. Okay, so here we are, we're under the layout. Okay, and we're looking at my PR3 right now. So nothing's connected other than you can see some strands of wire coming from the programming terminals. That's just to this coil of wire. You can see the end of it here. Nothing's connected. A little story on that later, but for now, nothing's connected. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you want to connect the power. Okay. If I can actually, not butcher this and connect the power. Perfect. So, out of the box, it'll likely come in MS100 mode, but just to be sure, I'm going to hold down both buttons until the stat light alternates. And then I'm going to let go. And what that does is that resets it to factory default mode. Okay. Which, with only the power plugged in, will be the error light on. And the USB light, sorry, I'm gonna kind of zoom in a little more for you. The USB light flickering about once per second, mostly off. This means that it is in MS100 mode. And what that means is it's going to talk to your computer, and it's going to assume that your computer wants to talk to LocoNet. So I found this diagram on JMRI site because the instructions that came with the Digitrax, the paper instructions, aren't very good. So if you look on JMRI's site, you can see that using the PR3 as a LocoNet interface. And that's exactly how I've got it set up. The PR3 comes from my computer, goes to LocoNet, and goes to my Digitrax command station, where then I have my main and my programming tracks. Okay, so I do in fact want it in MS100 mode. That is because I want to use WiThrottle, which uses LocoNet, and I also want to use my programming track from my computer. Okay, if you do not want to use WiThrottle, and you simply want to use the PR3 to program trains, and that's it, you want to put it in a different mode. And what you have to do for that mode is, if we look at the diagram, you can see that it's got the computer running JMRI to the PR3, and it just goes to the programming track, and you've got the extra power supply there. Okay, and that's it. Sorry for the shaky cell phone holding. Okay. Now, what that does is, if you're just using it as a programmer, you want to put it in PR3 extra programmer mode. And excuse me. Basically, what happens is you don't have a USB light, so you switch by pressing the button, and we're basically getting a stat light red and the USB light blinking once per second. Okay, now I don't have the USB plugged in, so let's go ahead and we're gonna plug it in. Alright, so now we've got a nice green light, and still the stat light is red, and that's okay, because according to the Digitrax instructions, when the red blinks, it is looking for actually, you know what? It doesn't even tell me. It says it's the same as PR2, which tells me nothing. So, I mean, there's a great example of the written instructions. Anyways, I'm not setting it up in the programming mode, I want to use MS100 mode. So once again, I'm going to hold the buttons. That's going to alternate. I'm going to let go, and it's going to say, hey, I have an error, but my USB light is then going to blink mostly on, but blink once per second. So this means, once again, it's in MS100 mode, and that's what I want. So the only thing I'm missing, which is why I'm getting that error light, is LocoNet. So we have one side of LocoNet here, which can go into the side. Okay. And what I am doing is I'm just going to run it off a UP5 panel because it's on the other side of my layout, and I didn't want to buy such a long RJ12 cable. So I'm just going to plug these back in. Alright, and you can see the error light is now off. And you can see that this is clearly in the way. My massive bundle of RJ12. So basically that's it for under here. A little tip for you. If you put it in termination mode, which is when you hold the error light button. Well, actually, let me give you some background. LocoNet is like a network. Okay? LocoNet stands for Loco Network. And it needs a termination device. Now, standard is that your termination device is your DS100. Well, when you're not using the DS100, you can make this your termination device. Now, reading through the instructions, it kind of says that, but it kind of doesn't. And when you put it into programming mode, sometimes it still wants, it still gives an error. So by trial and error, I was goofing around with the buttons, and I had it connected to LocoNet, and I made it a termination mode. Furthermore, it didn't seem to, do anything special. So great. So I attached the wires, and I attached that to my programming track. And I go to program a locomotive, and my DCS100 starts beeping crazily. And I freak out, and I run in the room, because I wasn't in the room. And I shut everything off. Pull the power out. No problem. Turn everything back on. Seems to come online. But what had happened is I was trying to program one of my Alco C424s from Atlas, and it wiped all the CVs. And it wiped everything. Like, I lost all my throttle preferences, everything like that. So I had to start fresh. So, word of warning, make sure you're in MS100 mode. And, before you plug your LocoNet in, make sure that it's got a red error light on it. And then when you plug your LocoNet in, that red light goes away. Anyways, so let's go ahead. Everything looks good from here. Let's go ahead over to my desktop, and we'll get it installed, and go from there.
Okay, guys. So here we are. We're on my computer. Now, somebody had asked me how I was using the DecoderPro interface on my cell phone. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. Right now, I am remote desktoped onto my server where I've got JMRI installed. My server does not have a keyboard, mouse, or monitor hooked up to it. In fact, I'm remote desktoped into it right now because that's the only way I can use it. This is my actual desktop computer, and this is the remote desktop that is built into Windows. The home server that I'm remoted into right now hosts a bunch of different things, and it is on 24/7. The only way that I know of, and I haven't necessarily done a lot of research, so just vaguely, the only way I know of to use your cell phone or a tablet to do what I did in my previous video, which was use the DecoderPro software, is to have a remote desktop client on your cell phone connect to your computer. I'm not going to go through that because it's somewhat more advanced. I mean, I really can if there's enough requests for it, but I think there are a lot of guides out there. So, long story short, this is my Windows 2008 server that I'm on right now. So, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to just minimize this or kind of bring this down for a second, and I'm going to bring over Google Chrome. And we're going to just go to google.ca. Okay? Basically, what you want to do, first thing, the PR3 is now hooked up. You want to go type in JMRI, and the very first link, JMRI, a Java Model Railroad interface. It brings you to jmri.sourceforge.net, which is the home page. There are tons of articles, tons of downloads, lots and lots of information on the site, and I really advise you to look through at least some of it because it's very good. You get a much better understanding of what's going on. Me showing you how I set this up is very narrow. It's very specific. So I definitely advise everybody to check this website out if you're trying to look into using it, because it's definitely something you want to get into. So basically, we need to download the software. We're going to go over to the download page, and we're going to scroll down. I have Windows. If you've got a Mac or Linux, of course, go to that link instead. But if you click the download link, kind of brings us to a nice little page. Download will start shortly, 5, 4, 3, 2, whatever. I'm not going to re-download that software. All right. Now, something else that you really want to look into is the layout connections page, which is just found in this link up top here. If you click it, it gives you a list of all the possible interfaces that you can use for all the different brands that are out there, or at least that JMRI supports anyway. Me, of course, having Digitrax. My Digitrax PR3 is right there, so I can click on that, and it gives me a nice picture of the PR3. I can scroll down, and it gives me some information about what and how I want to set this up. There are two links that that you really need to look into. But before we go to that, you can just see the two wiring diagrams that I showed earlier while we were under the layout. Again, I'm using the PR3 as a LocoNet interface, so I am using this diagram. I certainly, again, this walks you through everything on how to set it up, okay? It does. It goes through everything that you have to do, okay, and including issues. Now, something that down here explains is some computers using Windows 7 and above, so that's 7, 8, I have 8.1 and Windows 10 would be included, have issues with the PR3. It tends to cause Java to interrupt. Basically, it crashes Java. It'll crash your COM port, technically, which means that you will lose USB connectivity on your PR3, stuff like that. So basically, what you want to do is you want to scroll back up here, and there are two links, okay? This first one, not the second one here, but this first one you want to open, so I'm going to open that in a new tab. And this one down here, which is about the firmware issue, because by now I'm sure a lot of people are using Windows 7 and above, so it may be useful, because it certainly was for me. The first link is really great, brings you to the Digitrax page, and there's lots of info here again, lots of great stuff. Instruction sheet, instructions on each and every different operating system. Really easy. The drivers are down here under the Downloads tab, so you'll want to definitely pick up the Windows drivers, okay, if you're using Windows, of course. But something else, like I said, if you do experience any problems with the PR3, don't give up hope. The instructions are good, the execution is a little not so good. What you want to do is you want to come down here to the Downloads page, and you want to go to the PR firmware. Again, this is only if you're having issues with the PR3, such as it crashing JMRI, losing connectivity, just kind of acting strange. This is a good place to start. Now, you can potentially break your PR3 by doing this if you do this incorrectly, but they do have a system to do this, so it is unlikely that that will happen. But just as a disclaimer, I'm I am not responsible for anything terrible going wrong. So first thing you want to do is you want to click on the firmware, which is here. I'm not going to download it because I've already done this. The second thing you want to do is click on the update instructions, okay? Now, if you're like me and you do this and you're like, cool, instructions, and you start reading and you want to read the whole thing over, you're going, okay, disconnect everything, connect, press and hold, plug, release, start DigiIPL utility. And you're like, wait a minute, the only thing I can download is the firmware, which if you do download, is a DMF file. Okay? You can't execute that. Nothing happens. Whoop. So you kind of get stuck. Well, instead of Googling it, what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to go back to the Downloads tab, just on the same page, and go to Downloads. Okay, that's going to bring you to the Downloads page for everything Digitrax related. And you can see that DigiIPL version 1.09 in this case is under the DT402, the LNRP. And you know what? The ridiculous thing is, it's not under the PR3. Okay, so yeah, it's not under the PR3 whatsoever, but you can see that DigiIPL is under pretty much everything other than the PR3. Pretty ridiculous, but anyways, never fear, just go ahead and download the Digitrax IPL. DigiIPL. Okay, from there, you can then follow the instructions, and it walks you through it nice and easy, nice and straightforward. I'm not going to go through it with you, because first of all, that would require me redoing it on my actual PR3. Second of all, this guide will walk you through better than I ever will. So there's no sense on me doing it, okay? Again, and this only applies if you're having trouble with the PR3. If it works fine, don't even worry about it, okay? I'm just going to close these because we're done with them now. So you've downloaded the software and you've installed your drivers, which again, the really, really nice thing is when you do the drivers, like for Windows 7, you can go to the PR3 installation with Windows 7. And it walks you through everything really easy. There's some screenshots in here. Makes it extremely easy. Again, walks you through it better than I ever could. So I'm not going to bother doing that. I expect that you guys can follow the instructions to get your drivers installed, and if you're having any problems, to get that firmware updated. Okay? So, from there, you've got JMRI downloaded. Go ahead and install it. Alright, it's pretty simple as far as I can remember. It's just going to prompt you to go next, finish. Might ask you where you want to download or install it to, what you want your railroad name to be. I don't remember. It's pretty straightforward. It walks you through everything. But basically, when you do finish installing it, you're going to get these three icons. Okay, now, it likely will prompt you the first time you open this to set up a connection. I've already got the connection set up, so it automatically goes right in for me. But I'm going to show you the settings and kind of walk you through what I did and why. So first of all, it's going to ask you for a system manufacturer, which is Digitrax in my case. Maybe different for you guys, you know. Second of all, system connection. That's the interface that you're using to plug into your computer. It's not always going to be USB, but any current stuff is going to be USB. So again, it's going to show you everything that's possible. So I selected PR3. Now, some people get confused because they say serial port. I don't have a serial port. I'm using USB. Well, in order for the computer to talk to the PR3 interface, it actually changes the USB to a serial port. Now, if you're like me, and a lot of you maybe, you're going to have multiple COM ports. I've got 1 and 3. Okay. The easiest way to find out which one it is without testing and failing, go to your start menu, whether you're Windows 7, 8, 8.1, Server 2008, Windows 10, you can always type Device Manager. Okay? Press Enter. It's going to bring up this screen. It's going to look very similar to what you guys have if you're running Windows. You might have more sections, you might have less, it doesn't matter. Find ports, COM and LPT, and expand it. Now again, I've got 1 and 3, and you can basically forget about this printer port. Okay, 1 and 3. Basically, just double click them, and it's going to come up and it's going to say, you know, hey, I'm a standard port type on your motherboard, which in this case is my Intel B85. Okay? Some of you are going to look at that and go, what the heck does that mean? Well, you know what? Don't worry about it, and don't touch anything. Cancel, go to the next one. Eventually, you're going to find one that says, hey, manufacturer, Digitrax. Okay? And again, this only applies for Digitrax. I'm not sure how you would connect, you know, NRC or MRC or NCE, things like that may be different. But you're going to look at it and say, hey, Digitrax, sweet. And basically the location is just, I'm in the 4th USB slot, okay? So you know it's COM3. So you're like, great, you can close all that. You come over here, you're like, hey, COM3, sweet. Over here is where it gets interesting. So you're going to look at, I don't know why that was changed. Oh, because I reset the COM. You're going to look over here, and you're going to go command station type. And you're going to look at this, and you're going to say, hey, it might be the PR3, because that's what I'm using. Well, remember when we were under the layout, and I talked about how I am using it in MS100 mode to talk to LocoNet. That means that the termination point is my DCS100. That means that my DCS100 controls the layout. Therefore, I want to hit my DCS100. If I was using just the PR3 as a test track, nothing else, no live bus was going to it, that's when you would want to select PR3 standalone programmer. But in my case, I'm using the DCS100, or, you know, you guys can pick the Zephyr Extra, Empire Builder, you know, so on, so on. The connection prefix and the connection name I have not changed. Neither have I touched any of these additional connection settings. Okay? Nothing has changed. So what you want to do is when you set that, again, it may bring you through the wizard. It may not. I don't think it did for me. I think I had to come in here. You're going to want to save any changes, because so many people, including myself, are used to just Xing out. Well, that's not going to work, because if you don't save your changes, things aren't going to work. Okay? Now, I've already set everything up. I'm not going to save my changes, but you should. Always click that save button. Okay? I'm going to X out. I don't want to save my changes. Now, you're not going to see this because you won't have a roster just yet. Okay? But basically, what we're going to do is you can already see if everything's turned on. My system is turned on. It is not, I have not yet put power yes on the throttle, but my system has power, which means I can sit here and I can hit off, and I can hear in the next room all of my sound locomotives booting up. And I don't think that's going to be hooked up on the mic, but it turned to green, which is great. And basically, that's it. If you can get the off on button and it does not say unknown, you're golden. It's working. So from there, this is going to be a long video, guys. I apologize. From there, what you want to do, we're just going to delete this one because that's what I'm going to use as an example. Okay. You're going to be sitting here and go, well, okay, well, how do I do this? Well, there's two things that I use it for, which is WiThrottle and programming my locomotives. WiThrottle, we're going to go through first, is really easy. Basically, how it works is your computer is set up to a network, and typically you guys all have wireless networks in your house now, Wi-Fi, right? Whether your computer is Wi-Fi, whether it's a laptop with Wi-Fi, whether it's plugged into the router or the modem, as long as you've got a wireless router, this is going to be useful for you. What you do is you use actions and start WiThrottle server. Okay, you're going to click that. It's going to pen for a bit. I'm just going to uncheck this and move this over. It's going to say, hey, chilling out, pending. And then it's going to come up. Now, my server's name is Dave Server, and I do, in fact, have 2 IPs. Okay, because I've got 2 different networks. And that's just the way I set it up. But it's likely going to say your internal network followed by a port. That's what it is, your internal IP address of what you're using right now, which in this case is 192.168.56.1, okay? And the port, which is 49.192. To most people, it won't matter. You'll look at that and you may not know what it is, and it really doesn't matter. I'm in IT. I know exactly what that means. I know exactly how I want to do things, so I actually use that, but for a normal user, it doesn't matter, okay? All you want to do is make sure this stays up, okay? Now, I'm going to take my cell phone, and I've got an Android, but if you've got an Apple, that's just as good, okay? You're going to go to the App Store, and you're going to want to search for WiThrottle. WiThrottle. Okay, and it's going to come up with engine driver JMRI throttle. You're going to click it and you're going to download it. Once it's downloaded, you're going to open it, and it's going to bring you to a screen which will have some example servers on it, but it's going to come up with your server. And in this case, it came up with Dave's server and then this nice little IP address here, which is great. Okay. It auto logged in, and you can see that I'm connected because I have DaveCo, which is the name of my phone. Okay. I'm not going to show you anything on WiThrottle. It's very easy to use. Extremely, extremely easy to use. Really great. Very responsive. I was surprised at how responsive it is. So that's it. That's WiThrottle. And basically, you can turn the layout on from your cell phone or from here as well. Same thing. Okay, and you can have an emergency stop. So I use this for when friends come over. They have the app on their phone, and I use my DT402, and they use their cell phones, and they don't have to lug over throttles or bring over anything like that. And it works great, and you can have a ton of people on here, right? That's it. You don't have to. I mean, you can check preferences. Actually, preferences are just the same. Oh no, but you can check, you kind of skim through everything, but basically it's on. This little window is up. As long as this window's up, it's running. So I'm just going to minimize that because it's still running. And that's it. WiThrottle is set up. Now, the catch is if your friends come over, they're going to need your Wi-Fi password. But if they're your friends, it shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, so the second kind of thing I use this program for is to program my trains, which is why I've got DecoderPro open. You can see I've already got 3 entries in my roster. I had 4, I deleted 1 because that's, what I'm going to use for an example. You're going to be sitting at this empty screen, and I don't know if this matters. I always use direct to byte. Always do. It just seems to work. And I've got programming track selected, okay? New logo, and you're going to see a bunch of this stuff, and you're going to be, wait, what's this? And you're going to start opening some stuff, and you're going to say, hey, I recognize that. Hey, I know that. And basically, these are all different decoders. Okay? That's all it is. They're just decoders. There's a decoder in every single train that you've got, as long as it's DCC. And you can either manually select it, or you can have it check for you. Now, I'm going to use my brother-in-law's SD9, and it's just got a simple, I think, $30 decoder, the DH123, okay? I'm going to change this from all to matched only. Actually, I'm going to keep it on all, and I'm going to read type from decoder. So no locomotive detected means A, this needs to be on, but furthermore, B, I probably forgot to flick that switch. Yeah, so I'll be right back, and I will flip that switch. So I went ahead and I flicked the switch. It is now in programming mode. And that is just my double pull, double throw switch. Nothing else, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and read type from decoder. So it's going to take a little bit. It is Java, so it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's not slow either. And it's going to grab some stuff, and it's going to come up and highlight them in blue, just like this. Now, because I have all selected, it just kind of expands it in the list. If you select matched only, it just gives you a list of what it picked. So in some cases, it's very precise. In other cases, it's more broad, like this. And that's okay. I know it's a DH123 because I gave him the decoder in this case. So I can go ahead and I can say it's a DH123. Now, if you're just kind of on the run, quickly want to just, hey, this is the simple stuff, I'll do it later, you can enter the roster ID and save it. For me, I always like to verify a couple things before I do that. So I like to open up the Comprehensive Programmer. It opens up a new window just like this, okay? And basically, you can fill things in from here. So sometimes, if you're like me and you are very forgetful, even though I just deleted the roster entry, I don't remember what the ID is, the DCC address. So what I always tend to do, just to be sure before I do anything, is I go into the basic, and you're going to see in this case, it's all highlighted in yellow. Basically, that means that changes have been made on this page. What do I mean by page? Basically, it's the tab. Basic is a page, motor is a page, basic speed control is a page, and that's what these buttons refer to. When it is in yellow, it means that the last time it checked that CV, it has made a change. Now, in this case, it has not checked any of these CVs, so it doesn't know that 3 is not the address. It just thinks, hey, from non-existent to 3 is a change. You know, from non-existent to normal locomotive direction is a change. So it thinks every single option is a change, which is fine. What I like to do, though, first thing, and I only do it with the basic tab. I do not bother, at a later date, or if I've got time, I'll do it. But I just want the basic at this point. I want to read full sheet. And what that does is reads the decoder, writes the decoder. So I want to read what the decoder has to say. Hey, what's your address? Hey, what's your manufacturer ID? Is your speed step normal? And you can see that as time progresses, things get unhighlighted, and values will be entered in correctly. 54 was entered in the active DCC address. Okay. User IDs are 255. The manufacturer ID will be a Digitrack specific ID, which is 129 in this case, and the manufacturer version number, which is 36. I did not type any of that in. That is all from the decoder itself, which is great. So we know, hey, the active DCC address is 54, which is awesome. I'm going to say, okay, well, that's all I wanted to get. You know, in some case, you may want to get the lights information or the speed table, you know, but in this case, I just want the basics, and I'm going to go back to roster entry, and I'm going to say, okay, ID. Well, I know it's 0054, and the way I do my IDs is the road number followed by the abbreviated road name. And you can put anything that you want. You know, if you want to call this like Dave's Train 1, you know, go for it. Whatever you want, you know. Now, road name, and again, this is not required. I think the only thing that might be required is the ID. Nothing else is required, but I'm going to fill this in for the example. So in this case, the road name is Norfolk Southern. Okay. Road number we know is 0054. The manufacturer. Now, I'm not quite sure. I always thought of this as the model manufacturer, such as in this case Athearn. But it's crossed my mind that this might mean like the actual engine manufacturer, which is the EMD. But I tend to use the model as that. So in this case, the model is an EMD SD9. And you can say comment. If you want to put comments, I can say yes, color black. Don't yell at me for using a U. I'm from Canada. Okay. Comment. Okay. So color black. Sure. Decoder comment. Let's put lights not yet wired up, because they're not. Okay. So that's great. I think that's some great info. Throttle speed can stay at 100. and I want to save that. Boom, saved. You can see down here, it's saved okay, and you can close this window. And now it comes up in the roster. If I click on it, it gives me some basic info about what I just put in, and that's it. So the really great thing about this is in my case, I've only got five, 6 engines. No big deal. I don't mind typing them in. I don't even really use WiThrottle, but what you can do, we're going to turn this on. Everything's going to boot up in the other room. And to simulate WiThrottle, which is no longer open because I had to redo this video, I'm going to start a new throttle. So you can actually control a train from the computer. I'm not even in the room, and I can make it go, you know? And basically, you just go down here, and you just select whichever one. So maybe I want to control 4208. I click it, it automatically enters in all the information. It knows that it's muted, it knows that the light's on, and that's it. Again, you likely can't hear it, but I can blow the horn. I don't know if you can hear that, but anyways, you can control it from here. And that's it. Okay. Again, we can turn on and off the layout, and we can use the stop all throttles, which is basically your emergency stop. And that's it. So we're going to turn that off. We're going to close this. And that's pretty much the entire video. It's going to be a very long video. I think it's probably 40 some minutes maybe. I really don't know. Can't ballpark it. But I hope that this helped you guys, because I know it's complicated and I know it's so specific that watching me and how I set things up may not help you completely. But I think it's good to kind of see somebody actually go through it. And I've gotten a couple messages, I've gotten a comment or two saying, hey, can you show me how you did that? Now, one of the comments, like I said earlier, was about accessing it on my phone. In the previous video, you saw me access this screen on my cell phone, and that is only because I remoted into my server from my cell phone. Alright, if you guys have any questions, comments, criticism, please leave them below. If you found this video useful or you just enjoyed it, please don't forget to like. And if you're not and already want to be, I messed that up completely. If you're not and want to be, please go ahead and subscribe. I really appreciate all your guys' criticism, all your support, the views, and I'm very quickly coming back up to 500, or coming up to 500 subscribers. So I really appreciate that, and I will be doing a giveaway shortly once I get to those subscribers. We will set all that up. I will be releasing a video with rules and details, and we will go from there. So thank you for watching my video, and then until next time, enjoy your bacon.